Clowning around, clowning around. This is just us clowning around. Yeah! Hello and welcome to Clowning Around with me, Em Stroud, and I really hope that you've had a good week, and I hope that you've had some time to laugh, think and play, because you know it does make you feel better. Yes, because you know it does, and yes! I know I do say this on quite a regular basis on the pod, but it is because it's true, and I'm fine with always owning that. I'm fine with that. But today I am doubly excited because I really like this woman a lot, and I love what she does as well. So dear listeners of Clowning Around today, I don't know what that was. That was me being excited. Today we are going to be clowning around. I've got to stop doing that. I'm just having too much fun. We're going to be clowning around art with the brilliant Joanna Gilbert. Hello, Joanna.
Hi Emma, how are you?
I'm all right. As you can tell, I got a little bit excited there doing that intro. I was like, I'm quite liking not actually having official sound effects, because then it just means that I can add random shit in.
I actually didn't realise that you do it all live. So well done.
Yeah. This is all like, there's like so low tech, because anything that I'm going to do has to be so low tech, because if it becomes high tech, then everything that possibly could go wrong probably would. So, you know, why have a sound effect machine when I can just make weird noises? I do. Anyway, so how are you? How's this crazy time been? Are you all right?
Yeah, I'm doing okay actually. There's good times and bad times, but I am doing good. Very grateful for the time, actually, in a kind of weird, not wanting to put anything down, roundabout way, but you know, quite centered with it all.
Yeah. And I think it's interesting, isn't it? Having chatted to so many people like during lockdown on the pod, it's amazing how I think for so many of us, it's kind of shifted things in quite a positive light. And as you know, regular listeners will know, you know, COVID is, or as I like to call it, stupid COVID, you know, is shit. You know, I lost my uncle to it. It's horrible. None of us are diminishing it. But if you're lucky enough to stay well, I think there has been a real shift, and I think there's been lots of positive stuff. Anyway, gosh, we're already getting into the chat now. Joanna, now, you know, because you have actually listened to some previous episodes, I always like to start with a quick fire round about your area that you're playing in, which is, of course, the beautiful thing of art. Are you ready?
Yes.
Good. I like how just firm you were there. You were like, yes, I am there. Which is good, right? So I want you to imagine that just shining in a sort of Blair Witch Project. Yep, hey kids, that's a 1990s reference that you won't get. That there's a torch shining at you. No spotlight for you. You're just getting a torch. There it is. There's a torch. I'm trying to create it more arty. I don't know why torch in my head is arty. It's probably because in artist studios there's always torches. Is that why? Yeah. Let's go with that.
We'll go with that.
We'll go with that. Do you have a torch in your artist studio?
No.
Oh, for fuck's sake! I mean, what? I mean, I might have only been to about 4, but I'm sure I've definitely seen a torch. Anyway, get to the point. Come on, Stroud. Right, there's a torch. There's a spotlight on you. The smoke is going, and we are about to start the quickfire round. Question number 1: what animal is art?
A butterfly.
Yes. Why?
Because I see it as this kind of transformation. And I think that they, you know, butterflies are they just transform into something really beautiful that can be kind of admired. I mean, they do die after a few days, but if we don't think about that bit, I'm going to with a butterfly.
I would say that. I think everybody would be like, I was like, yeah, I'm really with Joanna. She's like, yeah, it's a butterfly, it's beautiful. And then my head went, but they do die after 3 days. But you could just sort of say, because at that moment of beauty, you capture it, you've taken a photo, and then you can always look at it. There you go. See, I feel better now.
It.
There you go. You know, or you've drawn it, or you've painted it. Oh God, there's so many. God,
paintings forever, not just Christmas.
Jeez, you're good. You should be an artist or something. I don't know. Crazy idea. Question number 2: what does art mean to you?
It means freedom. For me, it's freedom of mind. Yeah, really kind of like a connection into somewhere else where there's a more beautiful world full of color and hope.
I really relate to that. Not not from an artist perspective, because I'm definitely not a traditional artist, but from a creative perspective, I really get that with the clowning side, because clowning definitely gives me that sense of freedom. And there's something there about, there's definitely a parallel there in terms of maybe the space that we both inhabit, that's the better word, when we're doing what we do. Is that fair?
Yeah, definitely.
Good. Right, quick fire. Come on, keep up with it, Stroud. You're doing brilliantly, Joanna. You were like there. Yes, you were like yes. Next question. The spotlight is still on me. Do you not remember that whole big build-up? Oh yes. Why does torch? You got torch. That's all you've got. Why does art scare you if it does?
Wow. Why does art scare me? I think that comes down to validation.
Okay.
And what is good is generally determined by someone else.
Right.
So I guess it's linking into internal validation and having confidence in what you're creating. So that part's really scary. Does that make sense?
Oh, it makes such sense. I remember I was talking to somebody, and we were talking about the things about what are the most vulnerable things that we as human beings do. And I was talking about this in my up and coming book that I'm editing at the moment. But one of the things on vulnerability is, for me, there's sort of four main things. There's one where you're singing a cappella, because you can't change your voice. There's one when you are standing up and you are telling your story. So you're doing a talk, you're just telling your story. There's no song and dance. That's really vulnerable making. Then there's doing the stand up, because you're standing there and you're doing stand up with the hope that your audience is going to laugh. And then I think there's like private views, because in essence, and you'd know this better than I do, you're standing there and you're watching people observing your work, and you then do the mind read, which is that whole thing of, well, it's out there and there's nothing else that you can do about it. Is that kind of what you mean?
I love what you said. Really, that is what I mean. And vulnerability is a big part of it, because you're kind of, we are our most vulnerable when we're creating something, because we're kind of putting out on a canvas or whatever our medium is, a part of our soul. And I don't want to get too deep too quick.
No.
But you're just kind of laying that out there bare for people to judge. And that can be really scary, because if you don't know why you're doing what you're doing, you don't have that framework to hold it up. So I think that's the most scariest part of being a creative, which is why what you're saying resonated so much with me being an artist, because there's so many crossovers and blurry lines. And I think that we're all artists, actually. So,
oh my God, you're so good. Right. No, hold on, because I've got to carry do the quick fire quiz, because this is how I've set it up. But so good. So if you ever have you felt fully in command of art?
I've kind of, I do. When I paint, I go into a zone. Yeah. And it's, I don't know if you scuba dive, but
I have.
Okay. So when I scuba dive, I kind of don't think about anything else that's going on in the world other than what I'm seeing.
Yep.
And that's what I do when I paint as well. So that's when I feel like I'm in command, when you just let go of all the other roles and responsibilities and kind of self-critical mindset thinking that you've got going on in your head. Like all of that's just parked up and put somewhere else. And there's one focus, and it's like a laser eye focus. And that's when I'm in my zone.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah. And it's how we get into that state. Oh, so many questions, right? What object is art?
Well, I mean, like a paintbrush.
I mean, it was an obvious one. I was like, and I think everyone would go, what object is art? A paintbrush. Or would it be a pencil?
No, definitely not a pencil for me.
Controversial. There's like half the artists that are literally throwing their phone or whatever you're listening to, going, it's definitely a pencil. No, it's not a paintbrush, But yes,
a paintbrush or a palette.
Okay. You can have both. You can have both.
Oh, can I? Okay.
Yeah, it's not like Desert Island Discs. I'm not going to be like, no, you can't have that. I think you could, because they also go very hand in hand. I think a paintbrush and a palette. That makes sense to me.
What about canvas? Can I have 3? Because these things are always good in 3s.
Oh wow, you're good. Yeah, okay. For this, because you're an artist, let's go with the, so for you can have a paintbrush, a canvas, and indeed a palette. So you're okay. Yeah, you're good. Right,
good.
okay, good.
Well, then I'll survive. You can just put me wherever.
Oh my God. See, she's just getting prepped, everybody, before she does do Desert Island Discs, which is going to be coming in your future, no doubt, soon. It's just like, right, okay, what would be my object on the desert island that I need? Anyway, right. When you fully own art, what happens?
Have we just done that one?
No, I was like, you have kind of covered it really beautifully, because it is the way that you just explained it in terms of when you felt fully in command, for me, is exactly the same as like when you own it, it's like you're in that place of flow, right?
Yeah.
Good. Let's move on from that one. We've done it. It's fine. Nailed it. Yeah. Because it's fine. We can do these in different ways. It's my podcast. No one else is telling me the rules. Although at any point, William might come down and go, "Can you stop having so much fun, Mum?" And I'll be like, "Sorry, William. Just try and be a bit quieter on the podcast. Sorry." Who makes you think of art?
Oh, wow. I don't know the answer to this one. I did come up with Damien Hirst, but I think that was because obviously I was thinking about the butterflies before, and I know that he's very commercial. Oh, now I'm getting lots and lots of names coming into my head. But, like Jeff Koons, I've recently been listening to, he's got a masterclass on, I don't know if you know that app. It's called Masterclass, actually, I think.
Yeah, I was just about to say that he's got a masterclass on Masterclass.
But I love what he's talking about, and the way that, and I believe this as well, kind of like art's everywhere. So I think that I'm definitely inspired by him, and we've got some similar mindset when it comes to creating art from a commercial perspective as well.
Let's go with him, because the thing about these questions is that it's only true right now, right? So for everybody and all my previous guests, no doubt if they came back and I asked them again, it would shift. So yeah, let's go with him because he's the person in your head. What song is art?
Right, now this is the one that I listen to every single time that I paint, and it gets me in the zone. I've got a playlist called Experience Art.
Right.
And the song that I was thinking to mention is called Transformation.
Okay.
And it is by The Human Experience.
Oh.
Yeah, so it's kind of like a chill out, trancey house, kind of like just kind of like lower the frequency a little bit or higher the frequency, but it gets you into a zone. It kind of steps you on a path. Yeah.
Is there? I'm curious. Are there lyrics on it?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
It is. Yeah. So I mean, I think it starts with art as a tool for transformation, and it talks about. Yeah, you'll have to listen to it.
Cool. Well, no, it will go. Don't worry, I will, and it will go on the Clowning Around podcast, which the playlist on Spotify. So, and that's definitely not on that playlist. So, I'm very grateful. So, thank you, because it's a song I don't know either as well. So, if art was a country, what country would it be?
I'm thinking it more like a universe than a country.
Go with universe. Don't worry. We have had worlds that don't exist. So you can literally go. So if art, so where are you going in your head? What kind of universe?
I just think that we are, I mean, everything is art. And
oh my God, you got really deep there. You were like, everything is art, guys.
I do, yeah, but honestly, I'm so inspired by the sky. I really am inspired by the sky, especially, I mean, there's been some really fantastic sunrises and sunsets and beautiful colours and moons, and we just had a full moon. And that's why I'm thinking kind of universe, because that is something that is universal, and we can see it no matter where we are in the world. So I felt
love it.
A country was too restrictive.
Yeah, let's go with that. So we've got the whole universe, which I do really like as well, because it's expansive and beautiful and full of endless possibilities, which I like. And there you go, look at that. I got slight goosebumps by myself then, and I went, well, move on from that quickly. And finally, on the quickfire quiz, which you're doing very well at, I've been okay. What, if anything, has stopped you from owning art?
from owning art, and you're not talking about me actually owning a painting, right?
No, I'm not actually talking. I was like, this is the first time where I'm like, oh, I think you're like only the second guess where it could actually be the thing that you sell that I'm asking that question. Do you ever buy any art? No, not asking that. I mean, owning the process, owning the world of what you do. What's ever stopped you? Has anything stopped you?
Limits,
Okay.
limits and labels.
Right. Okay.
This was a massive, like it was a massive barrier to me.
Yeah.
Being my true self as an artist and a mum and, you know, a wife, and, you know, well, I'm divorced now, but kind of all of that, it like just all the labels that I put on myself, and that actually other people put on me. And actually, like, society also kind of puts on you. And then when you just kind of think, oh, you know what, like, screw all of that.
Yeah.
It's not what they can think, whatever they want to think.
Yeah.
That's when I just kind of, like, this lioness kind of occurred, and all of a sudden I was like, right, I know what I'm doing. Bam. That was it.
Oh,
I owned it.
I love it, and I love that description of your journey. You know, from as you say, from limits and from other people and all of that stuff. That's so good. Right, well done. You have now finished the quick fire quiz. The torch has been put down. Not that there was one in your studio, and you can now relax. So it's all right. God, so many things, so many parallels. So have you always been within yourself? Have you always felt that you were an artist? Has that always been a massive bit of who you are?
I've been kind of, if we go back to school years, I did really enjoy art, and I wasn't the most well-behaved child at school.
Right.
But the art teacher I took a shine to her, and she took a shine to me. And I think that's what you need, isn't it? You need a teacher to believe in you. Oh,
completely.
And then that kind of like helps a seed grow. But then I was advised by my parents, love them, not to pursue art at degree level, which I went with because I didn't do very well at A level.
Right. Okay.
So I was kind of like, okay, yeah, well, you know, part that, you know, who needs to do art anyway? I'd much rather do marketing. And I did a really amazing degree on marketing. And then after that, sorry if this is like turning into a life story.
No, this is fine. This is the whole point of a podcast. We can talk about whatever we want. I ask you a question and off you go. You're doing brilliantly and everyone is loving it. So you did a degree in marketing. Carry on.
I did a degree in marketing. And I guess what I'm trying to say is the creativity is always within you. Yeah. And it will kind of come out when it's ready. And after my marketing degree and working for a record label and learning graphic design and a whole load of other little things that were kind of edging on creativity still, and they were creative roles, my boss inspired me to pick up a paintbrush again, because he said, you paint, don't you? And I said, well, I used to. He said, oh, my daughter would like something for her 16th birthday. Can you do a picture for her? Right. And that really was the key to unlocking me as an artist, because from that he then said, oh, well, will you paint a whole load of buildings? Because he was also an architect, and he felt the House of Fraser, Sports Direct, all of these M&S, all of these B&Q. I'm just thinking of all these names. I did commissions for all of these buildings. And then it was like a door that he just opened. And then from then I was like, bloody hell, I'm actually kind of like an artist. And then after I had kids, I went back part-time, but the art balance just shifted more into that sector. Right. And then when the cloud kind of dispersed after the kids grew up a little bit, and they were like kind of 5 and 7 or 7 and 9, that's when I decided to do a master's in art and really kind of actually take art as a profession properly, even more seriously. So how did you feel when you were applying for the masters? Did that sort of make you go, huh? Or were you like, no, I'm ready for this now? How did you feel about that? Well, funnily enough, I remember doing some little, I was nervous, and I applied twice Right.
Right.
So the first time the kids are a little bit younger, and I remember thinking, what limits am I putting on myself? What's stopping me from being who I want to be? And they were very young, and I had postnatal depression as well.
Right.
And it was all a little bit of a struggle for me. And I knew that I wasn't being my fulfilled self. And I applied. I applied to art college and I did get in, but at the time there was no way that I could commit to going with the kids at that age. So then I reapplied again in about 2016.
Right.
But at which point the kids were older, and it was a year MA at Chelsea College of Arts, which is like one of the top London unis. I was really lucky to get into.
Yeah.
And
were you lucky to get into? Were you lucky?
Well, I
was that, I don't know. I just have to, it's one of those things that I think we all fall into this habit of kind of going, yeah, and I was really lucky I got in. And I'm like, were you lucky, or was it because you had talent? And so you got in. And I get that you're grateful for the fact that you got in and you got the opportunity. I get that bit, but I don't know. It's one of those things that I keep picking up with all of us at the moment. We're all sort of quite good, like, yeah, and I was really lucky. I got into, I say it because I think maybe that's where I picked up on it. Because I was like, oh, I'm really lucky because I got into all the drama schools. And I was like, was I lucky? Was I actually lucky? Or was it more, do you know what I mean? And it's that thing of like, just sort of almost sort of underplaying the fact that we got there because actually we were good. And yes, of course, we needed help to get better. But I'm it just popped into my head when you said lucky.
Well, you're right. And I think you're right for picking up. And actually, it's really interesting that you have picked up on it. And I think that, maybe it wasn't down to luck. Maybe luck doesn't really exist. Maybe it is down to kind of hard work, ambition, drive, determination, all of those things. And who knows? But I'm very grateful.
Yeah. And I think it's the gratitude that I hear, versus the luck bit. I think there's definitely stuff about, we can occasionally be lucky, but I just think on something when there's so many sort of concrete things of like, how does that person going to fit in, do the course, etc. What she already produced? I don't think that's luck. I think that's talent, personally. But there you go. Well, it's true though. We underplay ourselves too much. I'm like, no, I'm not going to let anybody underplay themselves, and they've got talent. So that's why you got into one of the top art schools and did your MA. And so from there, so obviously you left left Chelsea, and then you said in the quickfire bit, it was like something changed within you and you weren't going to limit. Talk me through that. What happened? How did you do that?
Yeah. So at the time, I think there was kind of a combination of things that were happening. I turned 40. I was getting divorced. I was doing something possibly for the first time in my whole life for myself by going and studying art. That was the first step. That was so it was possibly just those 3 steps.
I mean, they're fairly big.
Yeah,
I've got to be honest. Everyone listening will be like, yeah, they're quite big. I'm doing something for myself. I've got divorced and I've turned 40. Yeah, that would probably be it.
Yeah. Oh, and the 2 kids as well. Let's not forget them.
Yeah, of course.
So I think, what was the question? I've forgotten now.
I know, we're having so much fun. It's just like, let's just have a chat. It's like what a podcast is. Who knew? I guess it's like in the quickfire bit, one of the things that I was really curious was you just sort of said that there became a moment where you stopped limiting yourself. And I'm just curious how you managed to do that.
Oh, yeah. So at the lowest point in my life, someone said to me, I don't know if you've heard of this kind of mental health nonprofit called iHeart, but I think that what they do will resonate with you. And I looked into iHeart and what they did, and they had this slogan that says, "What if we already have everything we need inside of us?" And it had a picture of a little, maybe a 6-year-old girl writing on a blackboard, like drawing a picture on a blackboard. And it really resonated with me because on the MA, I had written a paper on Have Smartphones Killed a Generation? Right. And I was looking into this topic of hyper-consumerism and how we're just constantly buying for the sake of buying. Like we don't even need what we're buying, but we're being sold new things like the whole time. And where I was at with my MA was I combined my marketing knowledge with my artistic ability. So I came up with a brand that I called Nothing to Buy. and I made T-shirts, and I did a large installation. And it was a real colourful experience. So that's why this kind of little girl poster, what if we already have everything we need inside, really resonated with me. And I went up and I spoke to them and I said, tell me some more. And they said, oh, we're looking for a marketing manager.
Right.
Would you be interested? And I said, well, I'm just finishing my MA at the moment, but after, I would love to work part-time so I could still continue my practice.
Yeah.
And then it was almost like things just started slotting into place, because I also, having gone through the divorce, wanted a stability of an income, regular income, which I don't know if you know, but artists can't really guarantee.
What are you telling me, that, you know, it's just purely down to private views and whether people decide to buy your pieces, and you have no control over whether they buy them or not?
Yeah,
and so therefore you don't actually know, almost like you don't know how many tickets you're going to sell, so therefore you can't actually ever really plan how much money you're going to make. What?
Exactly,
No idea.
Yeah. So to me, it kind of seemed like the best of both worlds. And this non-profit taught me, and I've been with them over 2 years now,
right, is
not only that we've got everything that we need, but also where our experience of life is actually coming from. And it looks like everything that we feel comes from something outside of us. So it looks like a nice holiday in the Maldives can make me happy. But actually, if that's true, then it would make every single person happy. But there are some people that would be petrified of going to the Maldives. So it can't be the Maldives that's making them happy. It has to be them. Their human experience comes from them, as almost a reflection of what's happening on the outside. So it's their internalization. Does that make sense?
Oh, it makes so much sense, because it's that thing, isn't it, of, you know, and as we were saying, you know, the parallel between clowning and being an artist, and that state of flow, and allowing ourselves to go into those places, which is our truth, you know. And I get it. And I say regularly, it's like, you know, no way suggesting that everybody needs to go to clown school and experience what their clowns are unless they're interested in it. But for me, it's what I'm really fascinated, which is one of the reasons why I set up Laugh, Think, Play, is like the way that everybody plays is different. Because, you know, like if you think about nursery school kids, you know, you go into a nursery, you've got some kids there that are building with building blocks. You've got others that are in the sandpits. You've got others that have got pens and paper. You've got others that are creating imaginary worlds. They're all play. And yet weirdly, as adults, it's like, well, no, I don't play, or, you know. And you're right. And it's all about this external, once I've got a house, once I've got the car, once I've done that, then I will be happy. And actually what I find really interesting, both about, you know, your practice as an artist and mine as a creative and a clown and all of that, is actually you have to do the inner work. And when you do the inner work, the outer stuff doesn't matter. It's like, it's all well and good, you know, and I'm standing here, I've got a very nice house, I've got a very nice car, but actually all of that, I'm like, would it bother me if I didn't have either? Probably not. I mean, I do want a house. I'm just putting that out universe. I don't want to suddenly become homeless. You know, I like having somewhere to live, but, you know, and you're right. And I think there's something about, I think for you as an artist, it's how do you allow yourself to get into that flow? Like what's the process? Because for you and I, we get that because it's what we do as our professional lives in some ways. And it's like, how do you allow yourself, what made you allow yourself become an artist? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. I think it's the belief in myself.
Right. Okay.
Think that I can instead of I can't. And
yeah,
it kind of links into those labels. So I felt like I should be this particular type of mum, and a mum should do all of these things. And I felt like an artist should do these things. And I felt like I had all of these conditions that I was invisibly attaching to myself. And if I didn't meet them, or if I did meet them, then I would feel this way or that way. And also as a parent, I've got invisible conditions that I'm putting on my kids. And it's not, when you can see that they are actually conditions that you're putting on them innocently.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that I'm kind of doing anything wrong, because I think we all innocently do that, if I've got a nice car, I'm going to be happy.
Yeah.
But it's not the car. We can be grateful for it. And, or even, with the kids going through COVID right now, one child is loving it. She's loving lockdown.
Right.
Yeah? And my son is absolutely hating it, so these are two totally different kids in the same circumstance. We're all living in the same circumstance, but we've all got our own reality. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, when I understood that my reality is my reality, and I'm not living a life as a puppet for anyone else, which I think comes with a little bit of maturity and hitting that 40 and actually thinking, you know what, I am me, like this is me now.
Yeah.
And I don't really care what anyone else says. I'm going to do stuff because I'm going to do stuff and it's important to me. And that's when this sort of magic unfolds, because it's like you kind of stand strong in your own, in your own wilderness, to use Brené's Brown.
With Braving in the Wilderness. And it's that thing, isn't it? Because that's the freedom, isn't it? And as we stand here, and I'm standing, you might be sitting, I'm not sure. But as I'm doing this, it's like, you're so right. There's a thing of like, within my own journey, and I think I've spoken on previous pods about it. It's like, no way would my 35-year-old self have allowed myself to do a podcast called Clowning Around, because I would have been like, but people won't understand it and they won't get it and they won't listen to it and da-da-da-da-da. And whereas now I'm like, you know what? One of the things that I am, and I'm really proud, is I'm a clown. And if you don't understand it, ask me, because actually it's a beautiful state. It's a theatre thing. It's not, and clowns have been around for the whole of humanity, and there's a whole link about clowns always being the ones that are the observers, and it links with psychology and the humanness, because we bring the light to sometimes really dark situations, which we all need, we all need it. And, and they're around cultures. And anyway, I could become very geeky about clowning, but it's that thing of, as what I really hear is that there was some shift within you where you went, whatever labels the world has put on me and I've accepted, actually, I'm going to pull each of them off. I'm going to put them down like little Post-it notes. I'm going to look at them and I'm going to go, I don't need them anymore because this is me. Is that been your journey?
Yeah, pretty much. I love that. Yeah.
There we go. Yeah.
And I also just kind of with the clowning, I think it's really, really interesting what you said. And you certainly broadened my knowledge about clowns over the podcast that I've listened to. And I think that it's about owning something, like going back to one of your quickfire questions, really kind of owning what you believe in, what you stand for, and uncovering what your purpose is.
Yeah. And I think there's something about, owning, as you say, owning who it is. And this doesn't mean, that what we're saying, and, I think it's really important, not everybody is going to want to be an artist or a clown or a performer or a speaker or a writer. I'm not in any way suggesting that. But what I am hoping that as you're listening to this, there's a bit where you kind of go, what is it that really makes your heart sing? And do you let yourself have enough time to do that? Because quite often I think there's so many people. I did a gig last week, and so I was doing a speaking gig to this lovely organization, and I said, how many of you let yourselves play? And only 2 hands went up. And I was like, wow, somehow we've got to a place in the world where we always have time to work, but why don't we ever have time to play? And for me, we're lucky because part of our world is the play that you and I both love doing and hopefully are fairly good at. We also get paid for, sometimes when your work sells, obviously. But, I'm curious, because you create lots of different stuff, would you call yourself quite prolific?
I think I would, yes.
Yes. I love that. Oh, yes. I could take that. Hello, yes. You might recognize me as prolific artist, JoannaGilbert.com.
Should we put that on a Post-it note and whack it on my chest?
That one, you're like, I'll have that label. I like that one. That's a good one. Because, so how have you got into the place? Because I think there's lots of people that that want to kind of explore their creativity, or is it because are you consistent, which has enabled you to become prolific? How have you got there? I'm just curious.
I don't know why I'm thinking I'm quite speedy at what I do.
Okay.
So, but it's come from.
Oh, I just just say, oh, because I love your work. I think it's amazing. Because you said you were speedy now. One of the things that I'm really speedy at, Joanna, this isn't going to surprise you, I am very speedy at knitting. And one of the things that I've been doing very, very speedy is I've been doing these speedy knitting onesies. And now I can do a onesie in under half a day. So I'm thinking I might create myself like a whole YouTube channel, and I'll be like, how to do the speedy onesie with me, Barbara. And so maybe you could come on and I could knit a onesie and you could do a painting, and we could do like an online little tutorial with both of us. Would you like to do that? Would you?
I'd love to.
Oh, say that, because I think what you're doing, I watched one of your Instagram videos and you had like colours and paints and it made it look all really pretty. And I said to Edna, now Edna's my best friend and stuff, and now we had a falling out with Clarice, who's another one of our friends, but we won't mention her because she's not very nice. But me and Edna, we were talking about it, and I was like, have you seen this artist? She's very, very good. And Edna was like, no, I've never heard of her. And I was like, well, you should. And so we were watching you, and she just went, oh, that's good. And I went, I know. And that was the end of the conversation. But, you know, because she doesn't really understand art. But I reckon I'll tell her that I've now spoken to you, and actually we're going to do something together, because we could be on YouTube, because, oh my God, you are such an inspiration. I'm going to have a YouTube channel. You're amazing, Joanna. I love you. Right, I'm going to go and tell Edna and tell Brian immediately that we've got to go and make ourselves look fabulous. Okay, goodbye.
Bye.
Oh my God, you've encouraged her to get a YouTube channel. Jesus.
I was going to give her a prolific, I can't even say it now. A label anyway.
Oh gosh, I mean, it's, oh dear me, you know, sometimes she is just a force of nature and just gets so excited about particular people that she's taught. That is one of the most excited I think she's ever been.
Aww.
So,
well,
you know,
I quite like a onesie.
You quite like a onesie.
She can do it in half a day.
I mean, it's impressive, isn't it?
Pretty impressive, yeah.
You know, knitting a onesie in half a day with the power of Barbara. Goodness gracious me. I know, it's good. So as Barbara rudely interrupted, so you're speedy at what it is that you do, which again, is that because you're speedy and you know exactly? So when you're putting a paint together, so many questions. When you're putting a painting together and you're doing one of your pieces, do you have a really clear idea about how it's going to look like before you do it? Or do you do it and then you kind of go, that's it, it's done?
No, I don't have a clear idea. I'll have an idea of the colours that I want to use, but really that's not kind of planned as such. I'll literally just have a look at what's out and just intuitively know which colours go together. And obviously I can kind of, I know which colours work well and which colours don't. And then I will just start. And that's where I suppose I am thinking on some sort of level, but I'm not actively judging, this should go there and that should go here. And it might happen so quickly that I'm not noticing it, because there are people that have kind of tried to do what I do and they're like, how did you do it? And I'm like, well, I don't really know, but obviously I do know, but I don't really know because it happens so quickly.
It is one of those weird things. I remember somebody said about this podcast, and they were like, so how long does it take you to script them? And I was like, And they were genuinely asking. I was like, have you actually listened to it? And they were like, yeah, but there must be quite a lot of editing because with what Barbara's saying and stuff. And I was like, yeah, no. She appears and it just happens. And then I was sort of trying to pull it apart, because I think quite often, you know, like Barbara's been around with me for quite a long time. And it's just been that this podcast was the place which was going to be home for her. And actually it's the thing of, it's kind of pulling back what it is that we do, as you said, sort of intuitively, isn't it? And it's like the main thing that you said there, which really resonated with me, which is what my writing person who was on the previous episode, Patty, talks about. She's like, you've just got to start. Mm-hmm. And I think there are so many people that are fearful of starting stuff because they're worried about the outcome and they don't just enjoy the process. Is that fair?
Oh, yes. Love it. Love it, 100%. You just do. And I remember, you've just reminded me that I used to be quite kind of daunted with a blank canvas.
Right.
And I don't get that anymore because it does just flow. And I listen to my, the track that I told you about. But there is just this confidence in the fact that I said this before, and I love the quote. You're the creator and the creation all at once.
Mm.
So and that's kind of what I feel when I paint. You know, I am the creator and the creation. It's like we become one. We are all connected. We are all part of the same thing, and there's really no divide when I'm painting.
Yeah,
it's just like the tree. Oh my God, this is so like deep. It's just like the trees kind of flow in the wind, right? And you can see the leaves moving in the wind. It's almost like that when I'm painting. Like where does the tree stop and the wind start? Like where do I stop and the canvas start? Like there is just this inner thread.
Yeah, and it's something that I remember with Maisie, who was on Planning Around Creativity. She was talking about a really similar sort of idea that actually once you allow yourself to go into that place, and the more frequently you do it, of course you're going to tap into your creativity. Now, I know that there might be somebody listening to this that goes, yeah, but I'm not creative, I'm an engineer. And I would challenge that as a belief, because actually it doesn't matter how you're wired. It doesn't matter what your skill or your specialism is. You have a different way or a creative way of thinking that perhaps you just haven't been using for a very long time. But I massively believe that every single one of us has innate creativity. How it manifests, i.e. what we end up doing with it, could be different. And I remember working with an engineer, which is probably why it's in my head. And I remember saying to her, I was like, but you have created the most unbelievable cars. How can you not see that's creative? And she just looked at me and she just went, yeah, but they're cars. And I went, it's a creation, right? It's just a different process. And as soon as she said it, she was just like, oh God, yeah, actually. And we kind of pulled it apart. And it's like, there is so much creativity, but sometimes I think people are worried about, I don't know, putting themselves out there and go, I'm an artist, I'm a clown, I'm a whatever. And actually, because we are all sort of, when we're in our really beautiful state of flow, anything is possible, right?
Yeah, it is. And the thing is that goes back to the labels. And judgment and self-belief and self-worth.
Yeah.
You have to really know your value and know that you are unique. There is only one person in the whole world that looks at life through your lens, through your eyes, and that's you. Like no one else is going to see the world like you do. And I gave a talk to some year 9 students, art students, on this, about how we have to just understand that we are the only people in the whole wide world that can actually make our mark in our way. There's no one else that can do that, and that's really empowering.
Yeah, and it's really important. And it's the same as quite often people say to me, but Em, I my story is pretty boring, it's pretty standard, nothing major's happened. And I was like, if every story was about somebody climbing Mount Everest, I get it. That's one person's story. It doesn't make it any more inspirational than your story about how you've changed and shifted and grown. And actually those stories of massive sort of high achievers, sometimes it's that they have its place and they are important that we hear them. But actually I find quite often there's a richness and a texture in stories from those people that go, oh, I haven't done that much in my life. And then you ask a few questions and suddenly they're like, oh, well, I moved from there, then I did that, then I did this, and then I had this experience. And you go, that's your story, that's your uniqueness. And whatever is your uniqueness, it's so important that you are brave enough to go out and go, this is me. And I think if there's one thing that I'm really taking from this conversation, it's like, just give yourself that permission, my word, to really sort of allow yourself to be all of you and not be scared about what other post-it notes other people put on you, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So what's next for you? Sorry, I've interrupted you. You were going to go off there and I was like, what's next for you? Where are you at?
Well, I was just going to say, and that's when you live from a life of freedom and limited potential, which were the 2 names of my 2 previous shows. So Limitless was the show that I had last May.
Right.
And then Freedom was the one that I had in November.
Right.
And I don't know what my next show is going to be. I've got a show in May.
Okay.
I think it's going to be called Relief.
Nice.
And it's about, because I've started using more texture in my canvases now. And the reason why I'm using texture is linking into the mental health aspect of things. I feel like we've got all sorts of bumps in our lives and curveballs that have happened.
Yeah.
And quite often people try to kind of rub them out and smooth them down and pretend that they haven't ever happened. But I'm more about kind of owning it and living it and showing that you've come through it. And actually it is every single shit thing that has happened to me throughout my whole life has made me who I am now. And if it wasn't for those times, then I wouldn't be here. So it kind of makes you think about things from a gratitude again, like with gratitude again. And then that really paves the way for more growth, which is something that I'm constantly doing and striving for.
Yeah, and I really hear that. And it is that bit as well, isn't it? Of, you know, and I, again, with this gig that I did last week, it's really sort of stayed with me. And one of the things that I said, you know, it's doing the really simple things. And you're right, you know, just buying yourself a little notebook and every day writing 3 things that you're grateful for. Shift stuff, because even on the shittiest and on the worst days, actually what happens is that you kind of go, that is true, but this is also true. And from that place, then when you have the really good days, it just builds. And I think when you have that, there is that, well, there's then the freedom to explore who you are and to do all the labels and all the stuff that you and I have spoken about. And I love that idea of going, owning your complete story and not trying to sort of, you know, push some of it down and go, look, you know. And I think one of the things for me that I love about your work and the way that you are, it's like, this is who I am, this is where I'm at. And I think some in the world of social media put on this sort of very glossy facade because it all has to be perfect. And I think it is starting to change, but it's still, you know that people have spent such a long time making videos look a certain way or making photos look a certain way. Don't get me wrong, there are certain times when I'm taking a selfie where I take it 4 or 5 times because I'm like, no one needs to see that particular look. Don't get me wrong, I'm guilty of it as well, but there's something about just kind of just doing and allowing, and that when we do that, actually so much is possible. And that's what it feels like where you're at. Oh, look, I could talk to you for hours, but I am aware of your time and of course my good listeners' time. Joanna, where can people find all of your fabulous stuff? Tell them. And you.
Well, on my website is probably the first place to go, joannagilbert.com. And I've just launched a new program, actually, called Unleash the Artist Within. And that is going to be, it's like a 3-step process where I have an initial call with creatives and just ask them some questions to just help identify kind of why they're creating what they're creating and what it means to them. And then I'm going to give them an assignment, and then I have another follow-up call. And the idea behind that is it's going to really kind of hit their targets of what their version of success is and kind of boost them. So that's something new that I'm trying, because I really want to I don't know, I think the success that I've got in a fairly short amount of time from being my most authentic self is kind of inspirational, or other artists are finding it inspirational. And that's what I'm hearing, that's the feedback I'm getting. So I just wanted to try and kind of almost help in a kind of official way.
Don't worry, kids. Joanna is officially helping. She's no longer just the unofficial helper. She's out there officially. She has something that you can access. It says official. So do not worry. No doubt you might even get a badge.
And other than that, you can officially see me in I'm on an auction. I'm being auctioned off.
You're on auction, or your work?
Some of my work is on auction.
Because suddenly it just had a whole different connotation there. Yeah, I'm on auction.
Yeah, no, but that's exciting to kind of have my work in auction. So I'm really, really fantastic with that. I've got another show in May with Aviv Singh Gallery in Highgate, so that's going to happen. I don't know what else. Just carry on.
And
Follow me
you're
on Instagram.
You're on Instagram, aren't you? And so of course all of those details, so how you can follow Joanna, will of course be on the show notes. Joanna, I just want to say, as I knew it would be, which was why I was so excited at the start, and I'm still excited. It's still good, you know. I just want to say thank you so much for coming on Clowning Around with me, Emma Stroud. It genuinely has been a joy. Thank you so much.
Thank you too.
Oh, the brilliant Joanna. I really hope you liked that conversation as much as I enjoyed having it. I'm literally grinning from ear to ear after talking to her. And obviously, you know, we just sort of said goodbye, you know, off recording and stuff. And she is just this delightful, amazing human being who, you know, I was having to try not to be too fangirly because I really like her art, and I don't really know that much about art, but I really like, there's something about her art really speaks to me. And so having her on, I was like, don't become too much of a fan. I'm like, I really like your work. It's really good. So I tried not to do that. So I hope you still took stuff away from it. And for me, the main thing that I think it's going to really land with me is just that whole idea about, ripping off labels. And, you know, and then that whole thing about the Post-it note has really stuck with me as I sort of just reflect on that conversation. And having witnessed her level of success, and I think it's brilliant that she's doing that, unleash your inner artist, and, you know, and supporting other people to do that, because I do think we hold ourselves back creatively. I do think there are so many people that are naturally inclined to do it but are scared about showing their creativity. And it doesn't mean you have to suddenly go out and become a professional artist, clown, theatre maker, filmmaker, musician, whatever. I'm not saying that, but I just mean just for your own sense of self. Like, are you allowing yourself enough time for fun and joy, which enables you to get in touch with your creativity, whatever it means? And if you're not, why not? And if you are, do more, because you know it makes you feel better. So yeah, there we go. Another week, another episode. Goodness me. See, I told you, I have cool people coming on, right? All the time. So thank you again for listening to Clowning Around with me, Em Stroud. Do like, subscribe, review, share it. It's all beautiful and brilliant. And if you're a new listener, welcome. There's some cracking episodes in the past for you to go through in the archives. I just like saying I've got archives. Oh, the small things, people. And I do hope you have a really good week. And make sure you do laugh, think and play more, because you know it's going to make you feel better. Have a cracking week, and look forward to catching up with you next week on Clowning Around with me, Em Stroud. Take good care. Bye-bye.